one of our resolutions that I would love to see people really focus on this year is remember who the real enemy is, and what we're fighting against. We have so many laws and so many rules and so many regulations that it makes it hard for people to understand how government works or to follow through, and to know why they should be on one side of an issue or another. But as we've been saying for a long time, if we explain to people with stories, with narratives, with personal instances, we can move them in the direction that we need them to go. They can realize that they agree with us. And that's really the thing. We want to find the people who do agree with us already, but they just don't know it yet. They don't identify that yet. And so there's this great article in the Daily Beast that is called "The Red Tape is Strangling Good Samaritans." And I think this is a fabulous case of what we can focus on, how we can use these tales to reinforce that message that more laws are not the solution to things. Here's the beginning of this article, and it just breaks your heart. In January 2014, a lifelong D.C. Parks employee, Medrick Mills, collapsed while walking with his grown daughter. They were across the street from a fire station, close enough for the daughter to yell for help. Mills was lying on the sidewalk, dying right in front of people trained to save him, but they refused to cross the street to help, because they told bystanders the rules required them instead to call 911. By the time the ambulance arrived, over 10 minutes later, it was too late. Mills died soon after arriving at the hospital. Take that in. The regulations said the firemen could not cross the street to save a life. They had to call 911. That is how we've penned ourselves in so much. Here's another story. Firemen in Alameda County refused in 2011 to rescue a suicidal man who had swum out to sea because they hadn't yet been recertified for land-based water rescues. Therefore, they explained to passersby it would be illegal for them to try to save the man's life. And when the fire chief was asked by a reporter what he would have done if it had been a drowning child, he said, well, if I was off duty, I would know what I would do. But I think you're asking me my on-duty response, and I would have to stay within our policies and procedures because that's what's required by our department to do. This is what this many laws, these many regulations, trying to find the case for everything. Instead of going with the principle of doing right, we're trying to legislate and regulate everything that happens. Real people are being harmed. Real people are dying because we've over-regulated, because we're afraid of lawsuits, because unions have gotten involved. That is the enemy. That mindset that says you need a law or a rule or a regulation for everything, instead of people just doing what is right. Can they even still charge you for failing to stop and render aid anymore? I mean, if you do stop and render aid, how many risks are you taking? And yet people do it all the time because they're still have a value in them that it is more important to do the right thing than to worry about the risk of a lawsuit. Those are the real heroes in this country. Those are people we should be supporting. And those are the kind of laws and regulations we need to be showing people are doing great harm. And that is why big, massive, overarching, far-reaching government is so wrong.
Okay, so earlier, Andy mentioned that Obamacare is 2,700 pages long, 2,700 pages of law. I have read that it's around or over 20,000 pages of regulations and red tape and these type of things. So one of my key paragraphs from that story is modern law goes a giant step. Like, well, okay, the paragraph before this says that law is there to make it equal for everyone. Everyone plays by the same rules, and we have certain things that are not allowed, so everyone has a fair shot. People have to honor contracts, and this leaves it open to freedom for people to act and do what they please. So then it goes on to say modern law takes a giant step backwards. It often bars people from doing what's right. Law's proper role is now seen as instructing people how to make daily choices, or in other words, controlling them. Instead of providing the framework for freedom, law has replaced it, creating a legal minefield rather than an open field for free choice. And it's just like Andy always talks about. We're creating so many laws and regulations to tell people how to act and what they need to do in every little aspect of their lives that they don't have that free choice anymore. People don't think as much anymore. It's if someone's not breathing, what do? You call 911. Whereas if you're really thinking for yourself, maybe you go over and you start the Heimlich and have someone else do 911. Or like it's taking that thought process from people. It's taking the creativity, the ingenuity. It's taking the choice away, the things that make us human, and just turning us into thoughtless robots.
And it takes our initiative away, not just in our own personal lives and what we're doing. That it teaches people that you don't know better, that you can't decide for yourself. It cripples and hobbles us by saying the law, or those who know better, or those who are in that, we called it weeks ago, the clerisy, those people in that academic class, that the power brokers or whatever, those people know what's better for you. Those people know better how you can live your life, or should live your life, and will live your life if they have anything to say about it. It creates such self-doubt in us. Not necessarily conservatives who tend to buck this sort of thing and get irritated at it, but as a whole, the American population is less confident in themselves in situations far-reaching because they have to doubt themselves because of all these laws.
The other thing that I think it does is it dehumanizes us, because it's not our responsibility, it's somebody else's. I don't have to help somebody call 911. I mean, this last summer I saw somebody getting beat up in the middle of the street on the way to work, and that was exactly the lady's response when I turned around and said, "Has anybody called 911?" And she just rolled her eyes at me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, come on, we've got to do something. This poor person is getting pummeled in the middle of the street.
JD talking about this kid and no one being able to touch him or stop him reminded me of another story from the article. In 2007, at Jamaica High School in Queens, teachers started calling 911 to get police to help them deal with disorderly students. This didn't look good in annual metrics on school safety, so the school imposed a rule that teachers could no longer call 911 until first getting approval from the principal's office. When a student, a ninth grader, had a stroke, the teacher dutifully complied and refused to call 911 until she could locate someone to approve it. The child almost died from the delay of an hour in seeking help. So the teachers would get in trouble for trying to punish these students. They couldn't touch them. They couldn't do anything to stop them. So what they did is they started calling 911. That would hopefully scare the kids enough. You know, the police would come, maybe scare them. Maybe they could do something about it. And so they made a rule you can't call 911 anymore. So someone's having a stroke in class and they can't touch her. They can't call 911. They have to wait an hour to find the principal, page him, get him down there, whatever, before they can call 911 to save a student. Like it should be common sense. In that case, you can break the rule and call 911, but they're programmed not to think. You have to just follow the rules.
And that common sense that you just hit on is so important. Whenever we are dealing with a policy that the left has implemented, or some plan that they have, or some mindset that they're exercising, if we can phrase our objections to it using lots of phrases like common sense, appealing to people that hopefully there's plenty of it left in the country, I imagine so, I'm hoping so, but if we can put things in terms of common sense and really build that feeling of, wow, those leftists, they're crazy. That's not common sense at all. Why would you do that? We'll have an easier time opening people up to our ideas and our solutions because they will feel affirmed by, well, yeah, of course you would call 911 regardless of what the policy said. Of course you do that to save a life. And you put things in terms of common sense, it will resonate with far more people who are not political, but they hear you talking common sense and the other side talking control.
There's a paragraph towards the end that teaches us where we need to focus. Right now, we're focused on the wrong things. We're focused on Obamacare is bad or global warming is not happening. Those might be true, But the way to win people over is this. This is what the paragraph says. Senseless bureaucracy is part of what spawned the Tea Party. Just get government off our backs. But when conservatives get to power, they don't seem to do much about it. That's because they have attacked the goals of regulation, say environment, instead of the true villain, the mindless bureaucratic blob that leaves no room for people to use their common sense in daily decisions.
The message of conservatism should be, I am the opposite of a bully. We want to control our own lives, not yours. We love our beliefs. We want to offer them and model them to you, and you can choose. But we don't want our beliefs to be your laws. We're different from them.